are a fist or a 1 or even a 2, my hope is that when you leave here tonight, you're maybe a 3 or a 4, or potentially a 5. If you are a 3 or 4, my hope is that hopefully between the two of us, we could share some deeper knowledge with you, maybe some small nuggets with you to fine-tune some areas of your life. And I know there's a ton of knowledge in the room. There's a ton of decades in the room. And so I hope that message meets you where you're at. Sound good?
Yeah.
Okay. So before we dive in too deep, I do want to first define wellness. Now, I am not a researcher, so I do apologize. I do not have a stack of papers backing up my definition of wellness. But being in the industry for 10 years as a personal trainer and in wellness education, now as a consultant, I've had a lot of time to think about this. And a lot of days running on trails, working out, thinking about what is wellness. It's so complicated. We seem to know more about space sometimes than we do about things like nutrition or things like wellness. So this is the definition I've landed on. And if you have your phones with you or you brought a journal or whatever, I would encourage you to take some notes. That's okay. But here is what I would say would be my definition of wellness. So wellness is a series of intentional actions done daily which over time take you from living a good life to living your best life. So I'll say it again. Wellness is a series of intentional actions done daily which over time take you from living a good life to living your best life. And to take that a step further, that best life over time, or best year, best years, leading into your best decade, which is really the ethos of the book that just came out this year, titled Your Best Decade. And it's really about that. You know, it's not this destination like, I've achieved wellness, here I am, right? It's not like that. But to me, it's more of a journey, and I think we're all on that journey. And some of us were chatting beforehand that we're all in a different place in our lives, where we all have different needs, we're at different chapters. And so I really think to me, it's more of this Kaizen term. It's always changing for me, which is why you notice I only put a 4, I didn't put a 5. Because even though I understand what I believe is the definition of wellness, I do think it is changing. I think that as your life changes, that definition and the values that you have attached to that in your life might change a little bit for you. So, the whole premise of the book, which I have here, and I do have some copies with me, is breaking down that term. So when I started writing the book, I thought about there's 6 domains of wellness, and for those who just need a bit of a refresher or aren't sure what those domains are, they are the physical domain, the mental domain, the emotional domain, the social, which is great. We had a little social connection, and we'll have a little bit more today. The spiritual domain and the intellectual domain. And so when I was writing this book, I thought, how do I take 6 different domains and put them into one book and still add high value people? And so the way I framed it is that I broke those 6, or put those 6, into what I call the big 3 areas that impact us all. And those big 3 areas are personal, physical, and relational. Okay, we all are people. Okay, so we all have personal decisions we're making every day towards our wellness, towards life. We value relationships, or we have relationships as human beings. And most of us are in some form of a profession. Maybe it's a hobby, maybe it's a full-time profession. But wellness it really impacts, or can be impacted within those 3 areas of your life. And so that is the kind of overarching angle that I took for the book to try to simplify it for you. I don't have a lot of time today, but I do encourage that we have some quick chats on the break and even following both Kelly and I's talk. But essentially, I want to start us off by talking about this idea of living with intention. And it's chapter 2 of my book. And the way I approach living with intention is this, is I feel like in life, in 2019, there's this continuum. And this continuum is way over here on this side, we have not living with intention. Okay? So this might mean maybe we haven't established our values around wellness. We haven't established values around healthy relationships. Maybe we're not showing up on time, different things. Maybe we're not showing up to jobs, we're not fully present in these moments in our lives. And so we might be over here, okay? Then there's this middle part of our lives, which a lot of us try to get to and stay at. It's really, really hard. And this is the area that I call somewhat living with attention. So over here, not living with attention, here living with attention. And this might look like, you know, sometimes you spend time with your family, some of your relationships are healthy, sometimes you feel fulfilled in your job. You could kind of put those in for your own life. But this is the somewhat living with attention. And then over here on the far side, we have fully living with intention. And for me in my life, when I look at wellness in those big three areas of my life, I want to be over here as many days, as many weeks, as many months as possible. Okay? I want to be fully committed to my job. I want to be fully passionate. I want to, if I value quality time with my spouse, I want to make sure I'm getting quality time with my spouse. Okay? Personally, if I'm aiming to get 3 runs in a week, I want to make sure I'm getting 3 runs a week and being intentional about that. Even when it's minus 30 in Ottawa and it's slippery and you're wiping out all over the place, and you know, trying to see past that to be intentional with making that happen. Because one of my values would be to make sure I'm getting that, working on my wellness every day, week in, week out, month after month. And so I want to come back to over here for a second, because if you're doing this assessment for yourself and you're thinking, oh, I might be here or I might be here, I want you to think about this for a second. In school, we're never really taught what are our values. We're not taught that. We're taught other things. So what I want you to do today, or to start thinking about, or maybe you already have an idea in your own life, what are your values in really looking at relational, personal, and professional. But if you haven't done that, start doing that. And it can be very, very basic. So you might say, okay, personally, this is what I value. So if it is working on my health and wellness 5 days a week, what are the actions that I'm going to do that will allow me to work on that every single day of the week? Right? If it's relational and I value quality time with Amber, how am I going to action that out each week so that I make that happen? Because it just doesn't happen without being intentional about that. And if it's professional, maybe you're in this cul-de-sac of a job and it's a dead-end job, and you're just not 100% sure if it's going to get you where you want to go. It's really comfortable, and it's okay. Thinking about how you can begin to action out where do you want to go to move yourself from here over to here. Okay, so what I would encourage you to do again is just to look at those values, and if you already have them, you say, no, Brian, this is what I value, I've got this, this, and this. Just looking back and reassessing those. One thing that I've done in my life that I hope I can share with you is every week I do a check-in. I put it in my calendar, and Amber will tell you this. When we lived in Edmonton, I'd go to our home office in the basement, and I'd just get narrowed in on my values, and I would think, okay, what did I do the week before that allowed me to continue to work towards those values? So I'd spend some time in reflection, and then I'd also map out the week ahead. So what am I going to do this week that works on my professional lens, works on my relational lens, works on my personal lens? And so that might be something you want to start doing in your own life too, is just taking that time each week to take stock of where you are and where you want to go. Because again, it is a journey for you. So I'll leave that one there. There is some question period at the end. I know Tom's itching for some questions, so I will leave that one there. The next little piece I just want to talk about real quick is chapter 7 of my book, which is titled Burn Boats, Not Bridges. Okay? Don't burn anything, but it's more of an analogy for life. And I know some of you have already read the book, so thank you. But for those who haven't, I'm going to focus in on just this idea of burn the boats. And there's a little story I want to share with you. Who here in the room is a history person? You like history? Okay, good. So no one's gonna fact check me on this story then, right? Like we're good. So this story is kind of a long-standing story story, and it's got different variations, but I love telling stories. If anybody's ever wants to go have a campfire sometime, I'm definitely in, because I love telling campfire stories. There's this story that I write about in the book about this gentleman named Fernando Cortez, and history can judge him. I'm just reporting on him. But Fernando was part of the Spanish conquistadors. He was charged or tasked with taking land for Spain. And so one of the things that Fernando did was he was very good at taking land. And so he had his men on one island, and they were continuously day in and day out trying to take this next island. And day after day, the opponent would be looking down on the beaches, and they would see Fernando and his boat with his conquistadors trying to come ashore to take their land. And the opponent would look down and say, okay, everybody rally up, we're going down, we're going to push it back. And they would push it back every single day, push it back to the other island that they had inhabited. So this happened repeatedly until Fernando had very few men left. And so Fernando, being a little bit of a brash person, asked what little men he had left one day. He said, will you do one last thing for me? And of course he got the guys all excited on what he was going to do, and what he said was, can you get in these boats one last time? Can we go and can we take this land? But when we get over there, can we burn the boats? And what he meant by that was, when we go over today, we have no choice but to succeed. There's no going back. And so that's what they did. They got in their boats, highly motivated. I don't know if they had nice paddles like we have in Canada or what they had, but they went over and they took the land. And two things happened that day. There was a psychological thing that happened, and that the opponent saw how crazy and how dedicated Fernando's troops were, and that they would literally go to no end. They would burn their boats, they would have no retreat. And so fear crept into the opponent. And then on the Fernando's side, the thing that revealed itself there was that his troops realized there was win at all costs mentality today. There is absolutely no going back. And so I tell that story because I think about 2019 in our lives. How does that translate into our wellness? And how does that translate into those big three areas of our life? And I think you might be in a situation, or we might be in a situation where maybe we have toxic relationships in our lives. Maybe we just got to burn that boat. You just got to get rid of it. It's very, very hard to do, but it might be holding you back from that best life, that best decade. Or maybe professionally, again, you got your ladder leaned up against one wall, you're going up that wall, and in 20 years you might get down the road and realize you climbed the wrong ladder. And you should have had your ladder on another wall. You should have burned that boat sooner. Maybe personally, you're telling yourselves all these stories, and I know Kelly's going to dive in deep to the motivation piece around physical activity, but maybe you're saying, I can't run that 5K, or you know what, I can't get on the bike after my bike accident, or whatever those stories are that you're telling yourself. Maybe you got to take them and you got to burn them. You got to get rid of them. And you got to say, okay, well, what can I do? And what do I want to do? And back over here, what are my values as it relates relationally, personally, and professionally, according to what I believe is good for me and my wellness. Does that make sense? Okay, so I'll leave that one there. There is the full story of Fernando in the book. But I also will say this, and I know that Lauren touched on this just briefly on our connections with the November Project. But essentially, there are 4 types of people in our lives, and I heard this once by a really good author. His name is Robin Sharma. He's Canadian, he's from Halifax, great dude. And he said, there's 4 types of people in our lives, and he compared it to a plane. And who here has been on a plane? Has Andrew been on a plane yet? Not yet. Oh, most people have been on a plane. Okay, so I don't know if you've ever been on a plane and they say, oh, I need you to move your seat because we got to balance the weight of the plane. Anybody had that experience before? We got to balance the weight of the plane, right? You're like, what? What does that mean? So planes follow these 4 rules of physics, and I think these 4 rules of physics directly translate into our lives too. And that the pilots know how much weight they need to have in order for the plane to take off. much drag the plane will have for the plane to take off. And then they need to know how much thrust and how much lift they need to have to overcome the weight and overcome the drag for the plane to take off. And I really feel that that translates into our lives, and that we need to fill our lives with those people that lift us and those people that thrust us forward. So if you're over here and you're setting these value statements on what you value according to your wellness, but you're surrounding yourself with weights and drags, and you're just dragging these boats behind you, or people are weighing you down, you're not going to get to where you want to go. And that's why I love this November Project group. Living in 2 different cities in Canada, I've been a part of 2 different chapters. And I tell you, I get up, and with Amber and I at 6 in the morning, we get downtown Ottawa, and I am not looking good. At 6:29 in the morning, and I'm not feeling good sometimes. At 6:29 in the morning. But this group is full of those people. It is full of those lifters, and it is full of those thrusters that are lifting us in our marriage, lifting us in our wellness, lifting us in our careers, and moving us forward. And there's people there of all different abilities, and I just think it's such a fascinating thing what this November Project is all about, because that's what it's all about. It's so simple. It's about surrounding ourselves with those people that are going to lift us and thrust us to the next echelon of our lives. And so I encourage you just to take stock tonight and take a moment and pause on that and just reflect on that. Maybe you need to rethink who's in your circle, or maybe you got to bring somebody in, invite them in, grab a coffee with them, spend some time with them. Very, very important. So the last thing I will share, and then we'll do a little break. Amber made some homemade goodies, so I don't want to hold anybody back from that. But I want to talk just real briefly about this idea of abandoning the comfort zone. And this is chapter 9 of my book, or 8 of my book. I can't really remember. Don't judge me on that. But this idea of abandoning our comfort zone. So who here has their driver's license? Okay, good. Pretty much everybody. So I love thinking about comfort zones because a great way to think about it is, who remembers, or do you remember the first day you got in the car to drive, right? And it was very, hands on the wheel, 10 to 2, white knuckles. Okay, they said to do this, I need to look here, I need to shoulder check, I need to triple shoulder check, all these things, right? And so your comfort zone, okay, was very, very small, right? You didn't know when to react, what to do, what happens when that person doesn't use their blinker. How dare they not use their blinker? They must not live in Ottawa, right? So, but now, fast forward to where you're at, you get in a car, you drive, sometimes you're half asleep and you don't even realize you made it there, right? You take these things for granted. A lot of times there's no blinkers, you don't think twice about, it's just another day, right? But our comfort zones are expanded because we've been driving so much over time. And so the same is true with our wellness. Say we're runners, or we play sports, or we're walkers. You go out and you do that first walk, or you do that walk-run, and you're like, man, that was hard, that was really hard for me. But then what you've done is you push your comfort zone, so the next time you go out, the next time you go out after that, it just gets a little easier every time. And I know Kelly's going to dive in a little bit more on the physical side, but there's people in the room that I've worked with doing some wellness consulting with, and I think they can all attest and see that it's when you put yourself out there and you challenge yourself and you commit to that you push and challenge those comfort zones. And there's a really good quote that I wanna one of the 2 quotes I want to leave you with. And has anybody read the book by Brene Brown? It's called Dare to Lead. Okay, a couple people in the front. Nice. I gotta read it. I haven't read it yet, but there's a really good quote that she has, and it says, "Courage over comfort." And Kelly's going to talk. His book is titled "Feel Like It," and he's going to talk about the feelings, right? The feelings that are associated with challenging that comfort zone. But I really encourage you to have that courage, right? Whether it's walking the extra 5 minutes, whether it's spending a little bit more quality time with the people around you, or whether it's doing less instead of more. Have the courage to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And it's not always easy. Getting to your best decade is not easy. It's going to be sometimes painful. I guarantee you, I've been there, done that. You get up in the morning, middle of January for a run. It is not easy. But I know that for me, it translates directly right to my wellness and right I might have to say this one twice, but it goes like this. The risks of inaction always outweigh the risks of action. So the risks of inaction always outweigh the risks of action. So the fact that you came here tonight, I don't know what was going on during the day. I know my couch was very comfortable. But the fact that you acted and you came here and you gained hopefully a few valuable pieces from myself and from Kelly who's going to follow, those actions have positive consequences for you in your life. And choosing those positive actions over time is what will help you get to your best decade. One final thing I will share with you is that if you're thinking about some things and some ideas and some I really value this, but I don't really know how to translate it tomorrow. I don't really know what I'm actually really here to do. We are going to follow up with you tomorrow, and I'm going to share with you an action planning template. So you can actually write out your values, professionally, personally, and relationally. Set out some short-term and long-term goals, and then you'll have some check-ins and some note sections as well. So we will send that to you so that you can take what happens and what you learn and what you hear tonight and actually apply it to start mapping out where you want to go with your wellness. So with that, I know it was short and sweet,